lore heads, and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
And I'm Mark.
And today we are talking about the nine-tailed fox, Ahri, who has substantially more lore than Aatrox.
Yes, she does.
Ahri was released... I wanted to start doing this now, talking about when they released, because that's fun.
Yeah.
December 14th, 2011.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, she's coming up on her 9 years, almost.
That is probably shortly after I started playing.
Oh, wow.
It was probably I guess it was probably closer to a year after I started, but...
Yeah.
Still?
So Ahri, on the universe page, she has her bio, like everyone, and then she has 3 short stories attached. That's kind of what I dug into. John went hella deep.
We went to the wiki! There's a ton of alternate universe stuff on that wiki.
Yeah, so when we started doing this, I was really interested in, I would like to know the basic lore for all the champions. And John decided I would like to watch everything that they're in, read everything that their name is in, just absolutely anything. Mark, where did you fall on this scale?
I feel like I'm kind of a happy medium. I definitely read some of the alternate universe stuff. I did not care for it, or I just wasn't very interested. I will find everything that is in Runeterra with that champion's name on it, and I will scour it. But when we start getting into and we can talk about this when we talk about that, I guess you and I, John, when we start being in the real world and it's just them, and it's an entirely different character almost, and I kind of fall away from caring that much because I don't know. So
I can see that.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like it's just kind of fan fiction for the lore, which is fine. And I do like fan fiction. And if you had dug into Harry Potter fan fiction back in the day, which I did, it was funny that so often there are alternate universes of they're just normal people. There's no magic. And it kind of sounds like that's what this is, which is an interesting turn.
Yeah, but she's still a fox woman, and it's
Wait, she is?
They're Liberty. There's the Statue of Liberty, but Ahri's still
It's still a fox. Oh,
It's still a fox lady.
Yeah, they were kind of whatever. It's fine.
There's magic, but just them.
Just add the Statue of Liberty. That's the only thing different, is that the Statue of Liberty exists.
Now, one of my favorite things about this Ahri lore is that it starts out with what I would consider a Riot lore meme that I'm just so excited that they put in here. And I don't know if it was an intentional nod to the meme or whether they didn't even realize they were doing it. But the opening line is, Ahri's origins are a mystery, even to her. Now, there was a huge thing back with old Riot lore where just about every other champion was like, they have a mysterious past that nobody knows anything about. And presumably, I thought one of the goals of the rewrite was to get rid of all of those. And I like that they kept this one in, although I'm curious if they kept a lot of them in which case I don't like it as much anymore. but
I'd be surprised. I didn't actually know that. That's pretty funny. That's a real lazy man way of being they got a story, but who knows what it is? They
use your
don't.
imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called it video game protagonist amnesia. It was it's literally the first note in my notes. It's
really?
Okay.
Is this a thing in gaming?
It's just like a mid.
Yeah.
It's like a
The
mid
protagonist
2000s.
wakes up in a town, no idea.
Oh, that's...
All you know is that town is for sure going to get burnt the second you go to do any sort of quest outside of the town.
Well, those are just, I feel in particular, JRPGs.
That's all video games.
Oh, that's all you play.
Yeah. They're the only games out there.
All right, so I think John wants to do a kind of a bit of a summary on Ahri's bio, and then we can start talking about the short stories.
Sure, and I'll super quick do her old lore. They didn't change a ton, but the old lore is basically just Ahri was a fox who stumbled on a dying mage in a battlefield and consumed his essence and then became a sexy lady. And she found she could maintain this and become more powerful by absorbing more essences. So she used her powers of sexy ladiness to do that.
Real quick, do you think if she had absorbed the essence of a sexy lady, she would turn into an old wizard man?
Ooh.
Or a sexy man.
It's
A
just
sexy
the
old
opposite
wizard
of
man.
whatever she absorbs.
Yeah.
Interesting fan theory. Let's write an alternate
That should be
universe
the
about
alternate universe. Old man Ahri.
Or Sapphic Ahri.
Would read both of them. Now, the new lore, Ahri absorbs the essence of a dying human. They left that bit in. But she wasn't a fox. She was born a Vastaya, which we'll get into what that is in a little bit. But she was just raised by foxes, Arctic foxes. But then she found a dying hunter, absorbed its essence, and that let her learn how to use human words. So she used this power to charm humans with hallucinations of deep longing. The downside is that she experienced all the emotions of her prey as they felt them, which on the one hand was pretty cool because she was getting to experience love and excitement. But on the other hand, since she was consuming them, there was also a lot of fear and regret. She kind of felt bad about doing this, but she found if she didn't, she grew really weak. So she had to kind of keep consuming people to keep her power. Eventually, by consuming people, she learned of the existence of more Vastaya like herself and set out to find them. In her travels, she falls in love with a human artist, accidentally kills him, and then goes to a witch to have the memory removed. She gets cold feet halfway through the process, and she still has some of those memories.
Was that in the bio?
That was
in
an
the
alternate
short story.
part of, it was in one of the short stories, but kind of pertained to her history, so I figured I'd throw it in there.
But yeah, okay.
That's Ahri.
Yeah, I think she also took people's memories or something like that as she consumed their
Yes.
essences. How did we like the bio? I had read that old lore, so there was nothing really surprising to me here. She also has 2 stones, which we'll talk about. Gemstone or sunstones, what are they called?
Sunstones.
Yeah. She's had them her whole life and doesn't really know where they came from. But I liked her bio. I get kind of annoyed when champions are always so sexy. And by that I mean the female ones. But if you give me a good explanation or reason for it, I don't mind. And Ahri is one of them. She doesn't need to sound like she's having like an orgasm when she dies.
Oh man, I love that. I'm gonna try and find a better orgasm sound because I think that might be the best in the game.
I was gonna do an impression and I was like, nobody needs to hear that right now.
But if you go on the wiki, they have all of her sounds on there. You can listen to her death sound if you want to hear what a 9-tailed fox sounds like in the throes of orgasm.
God. I was throwing all 4 of them on at once, and it was interesting.
All 4. You're having an orgy with Ahri's. Immersive. Do you remember a video that came out that was like change or bleeping out certain words that champions said to make them sound dirty?
Oh yeah.
And then they did Ahri's death sound and we're like, they didn't need to change
no
anything.
Edits necessary.
No edits. But anyway, how do we feel about the bio, her story?
I liked it. I actually hadn't, I don't think, read the new stuff for Ahri, so the old stuff was very just kind of like more one note, so I liked the changes. It's not like they added a ton of complexity, but it was enough that I was more interested. Yeah,
I would completely agree. I mean, ignoring the like I said, video game protagonist amnesia at the start, I like it more than the old one. I like her kind of being an emotional vampire, for lack of a better kind of phrase. I was curious because I thought they had kind of described some of the, when she's actually taking the essence as having it seemed almost like an intoxicating effect. I was kind of worried they were going to go into a really clumsy substance abuse metaphor or something. I mean, who knows? They didn't. So I thought it was more it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, I guess. The bio's fine.
So there are 2 short stories that are from Ahri's point of view. One of them is called A Fair Trade, and the other one is The Garden of Forgetting. And they're both by Rayla Hyde, I think her name was, Heide, I think it's Hyde. The other short story connected to her is Edward, how do you say his last name? Santangelos? Thank you.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Vastaya Field Journal. I don't have the author on that, and I'm very disappointed because it was a delightful little read.
I loved it.
I liked her short stories as well a lot. There was the writing I felt was a lot stronger than Aatrox's. for sure. But the journal was very quirky, and there's a lot of pictures, and it was like what you'd stumble upon like in the world of Skyrim or something. Like some kind of weird journal.
Yeah, it was very good. It struck me as kind of like a very posh British person, like a Nigel Thornberry in his field journal.
Yeah, in it, the Edward, I guess, is just the guy, right? Yeah. He's trying to figure out what the Vestaya are. He does discover they're the result of Ionians who were fleeing the Great Void War, and they paired up with, quote, intelligent shape-shifting creatures, unquote, and they spawned the God, how do you say that? Vestaya?
Vestaya? Vestaya sounds...
Yeah, I bet you it's in Zaya's quotes.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah, there was like, I wish I had written down the line, but there was a quote being like, he didn't know if their joining was, spiritual or physical.
Or more physical, yeah.
Yeah, but they did create the Vestaya.
And I did dig into, after kind of reading this, I did dig into the Vestaya a bit more to get a bit more detail about their backstory, because I was pretty sure they had more of a history that wasn't present in this short story specifically. So I have a little bit if you'd like me to share.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, long ago, a war between the mortals and a race of titans from the skies shattered the lands, and then some enlightened mortals used the power of the spirit. They took the power of the spirit realm into themselves and became Vestice Ray, which are deathless shapeshifters.
Oh.
Now, they stayed around the mortals and fucked.
Oh.
And, thus the Vestaya came to be.
Fuck the mortals. They didn't just, fuck around them.
Yeah, they fucked them.
So they're like demigods in Percy Jackson,
Pretty much. And I put a note based on your thing, too. Current Vestaya don't like to talk about the logistics of this fucking.
Why not? They make a lot of money.
They would. Now, each region kind of has their own forms of Vestaya that are acclimated to their specific climates and conditions. And it's mentioned that they're not an individual species. They're more like a phylum. So above a class, but below a kingdom. So an example of that would be like a mollusk, which are part of the animal kingdom, but they include like cephalopods, gastropods, etc. So they're basically like any collection of classes that share a certain trait. Yeah. I also wrote down a quote that I really liked from this story.
The journal or the other
journal.
story you found? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. It was a very, it was a very gentlemanly thing when he was disrobing to get into the pool. Because he found a pool basically, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a bath in there because I smell real bad."
Yeah, he'd been living in the woods trying to study the Vestaya.
Yeah, I call him a Runeterra bagpacker.
Ooh, very good.
Which is kind of what he is, right?
That trail trash. He says, "I paused and disrobed after checking to make sure I was alone. A gentleman never forces his own nudity upon others." So take notes, gentlemen.
So ladies,
dick pics not
I was
welcome.
gonna say, next time you get an unsolicited dick pic, you just send that quote to them.
You need to read a trail journal, friend.
Edward would never behave this way, you sick fuck.
There's one in there I loved where he does a pacifist dance, a dance of non-aggression. And I don't know the full quote, but the specific line, "My patellas are positively pristine." I had to quote that out because it was so good.
It's really, really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned a lot of different Vestaya and calls them kind of refers to them as chimera for a little bit in the beginning, which it sounds they're similar. So there's otter people and what other ones? And there's pictures. There are these adorable pictures that go with the journal.
Yeah, they had the snake creature that he initially met, or at least that had the snake scales.
Yeah, it was almost like a monkey, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he had met the pig one.
Oh, right, who could actually turn into a pig. So Ahri can turn into a fox, can't she?
Probably.
Or had she been? I don't know.
There is... I think she probably technically can.
I think she was living
100% in Spirit Blossom lore she can.
Yeah. I think in the beginning she was living as a fox. Ahri is in Edward's field journal, by the way. He catches her bathing. They don't really meet, though, aside from that.
And then his pig friend warns him to beware.
Yeah.
The bathing lady.
The bathing lady is very dangerous. One of the other stories is called, let's go do the garden one, because John, you'd kind of mentioned that one already. So the Garden of Forgetting, that one, Ahri goes to a garden in hopes of forgetting the man that she loved and killed. This one confused me a little bit, because, like, did she kill him by accident, or was he dying already? I didn't quite catch what was happening.
I'm pretty sure it was by accident. That was kind of the read I got. Like, I think he had walked in on her kind of draining someone else, but still loved her. And I think the impression that I got was that he asked her to drain him, like, a little, just like, I want to kind of see, and then she kind of lost control.
Oh.
I don't know if you got a similar read on that, Mark.
That's interesting. I really like the idea of just like, yeah, let's try it. Fuck it, like this at some point. Spice things up. I got most of that. That little last bit did about. I don't know if it's clear to me, or at least it wasn't clear to me, how it ended up that she had killed him. It seemed like it was accidental, but what was the inciting incident to me, I didn't quite find.
Yeah, I wish that was a little clearer. But otherwise, I did like it. Do we know who this painter is, by the way? Is he somebody mentioned in the lore elsewhere?
That I'm aware of.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I was wondering. I was like, is like Yone a painter? I don't remember. Is he the person she killed? I don't know.
No, he died a different way.
Okay, he has his own.
Yeah, Yasuo killed him.
Okay, we're not going to know their story for many, many, many moons.
Actually, you technically will, because Ahri is in the story that talks about how Yone died.
Oh, okay.
Is she really?
Well,
I tried to look through some of Yasuo's stuff, but I didn't spot her offhand.
Yeah, it was the Spirit Blossom tale where Yasuo goes to the Spirit Blossom Festival to talk to Yone, and then at the end of it, he goes to Bilgewater, and Ahri is on the ship to Bilgewater as well, and they go to Bilgewater together, where they make a duo appearance in the Ruined King trailer for the upcoming video game, the single-player game that Riot's putting out.
How cool was that shit? That thing was
very
so cool.
cool.
I don't know. I really like that.
John really dug deep.
Yeah.
I
wanted
read a
to
story.
follow the paths.
I just read the story about the garden.
I mean, like I said, I kind of skimmed through that Spirit Blossom story. I saw her mentioned in like the tale that was kind of being told. I didn't realize that she actually kind of shows up there. I need to reread that then.
Yeah, they don't ever mention her by name in the story. She is basically a traveler and with auburn eyes who stays at the inn that those people run, and it's also kind of implied that she is probably going to feed on the Noxians that showed up in that town.
Oh, dang.
Man, I need to check that out then.
The other short story in the universe page is called A Fair Trade. In that one, Ahri learns that her gems, or sunstones, were created by a name I can't pronounce, but I'm going to go with Yamello.
Yeah. Yamalao.
Yamello.
It's kind of like Lamau.
Imlo?
That's kind of what I thought, yeah.
Imelo,
Like
and
Eves,
Imelo,
maybe.
and
Like
Imelo.
Mellow.
We'll go with
I like Yamello, personally.
I like Yamello, too.
Right?
Yeah.
Note to selves for future ones. We'll try and find quotes that mention these names and see if we can get the pronunciation.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, it's hard to find pronunciations for stuff like this, because they're not really in game very often. I did like this story. Ahri gets kind of like, she's at some kind of, I don't know, market or something, and there's a woman there who does readings, and she kind of lures Ahri in. She poisons Ahri. Was she going to steal the stones? Is that it?
No, she was going to cut her tails off. and
Oh,
sell
that's
her
right.
tails.
Just
Oh my
one,
god,
just
she was
one.
going to cut off
Just
just
one.
one. Yeah.
Just one.
She's
She's
going
not
to cut
greedy.
off one of her tails, but Ahri wrecks her shit. Well, she doesn't kill her. She lets her live, but
Here's some things I loved about this story.
go ahead.
She specifically tells Ahri, "Now you look like you have a dark and mysterious past." I liked that a lot. I also like that the fortune teller gives this cryptic warning about, like, who knows whose food is going to be poisoned.
Yeah.
And then Ahri still just straight up just takes a drink from her and drinks it without even checking, which clearly is poison.
Well, she's saying it to a crowd. That was a cute little bit of foreshadowing. I imagine at that point Ahri likely hadn't ever met a match for herself, I guess. I doubt she rarely comes in contact. One thing I liked about these stories is that you actually get more out of them as opposed to the Aatrox story. It was just a short about something that we already knew from his bio, but this was all new information. It was a continuation of her biography.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
that was much better, and I hope the others are like that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives her, the dark, mysterious past notwithstanding, it gives her a much more actionable, clear goal. And here's a clear hook. And, and it's like, oh, we can figure out the mysterious past later and make that hopefully, meaningful. But for now, here's a really clear, thing that you are looking for, right? And it's measurable, right? Success.
Yes, and it's more interesting to me than Aatrox's I just want to destroy everything goal, because I think they're all going to end up with some kind of goal, but that one's a little lazy.
And another thing I liked about this, it's never explicitly said, but it's kind of implied just by the, environment. She absorbs a memory from this lady about her stones, basically. She sees a man with eyebrows resembling butterfly wings gambling a set of golden Yamello stones in kind of a tavern-type setting, which, again, never explicitly said, but I kind of got the feeling was probably in Bilgewater, which I thought was there's kind of a nice direct path of okay, she's looking for information, she absorbs this memory, she decides to go to Bilgewater. On that ship, she meets Yasuo, and it's kind of connecting all of the disconnected pieces of her lore all together, which was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I thought that this might have been. I mean, honestly, Field Journal was my favorite, but in terms of setting the character up to have something to do and that makes sense, Fair Trade for sure, right?
Yeah, I agree. The garden one, we get more on her past, I guess, but the killing her lover thing, not interesting to me. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I found that aspect a bit more cliche and less interesting, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any threads there for down the line. I don't think that anything in that story is necessarily going to impact any of her future stories. So yeah, it didn't mean as much to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Fair Trade one was substantially more interesting as far as putting Ahri forward. I imagine it's really hard because you say they're connecting champions, their characters, in a way that moves them all forward. There's so many of them. So I think Aatrox is one that kind of fell off, perhaps, because they can't pick up all 300 and something and bring them forward at once. I don't know. Sure. Maybe we'll find out, though.
It's enough. It's something you can kind of put on a board somewhere and say, we'll figure this shit out later. It at least makes sense for now, right? I will say, true. Little things about the story. So they included a picture of the two stones fit together at the very end of the story, and what I had in my head was way more complex and way more intricate. And I had this little sad face where I wrote I thought it was gonna be two funny. Really complex things that fit together perfectly, but.
They should have had the picture at the beginning.
Yeah. Not got our hopes up. So one of the things, too, and this is kind of jumping back to the journal story, just because I remembered that I wrote it down. One of the things that's mentioned in that story is the Navori Brotherhood, which I had never heard of before.
Oh, that's right. I feel like so at the bottom of that story, or one of them, Zaya and Rakan are linked. Are they connected to this at all?
I think they're just connected because they're Vestaya.
Oh, that makes so much
Wukong
sense. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Wukong, probably Rammus.
I see Wukong. Okay. Anyway, those two were. But yeah, what was that Brotherhood thing? Do you know?
So I looked into it. The Navori Brotherhood is an extremist group from Ionia that's looking to militarize Ionia to fight the invaders, kind of following the Noxian invasion of Ionia. Now they are Aurelia, and this is kind of jumping ahead a bit probably, but Aurelia had kind of led the defense against Noxus, which was already kind of more militaristic than Ionia was known for, but the Navori Brotherhood is incredibly more militaristic, and Aurelia doesn't take a hard enough stance for them, so they want to essentially militarize Ionia, and they are willing to kill pretty much anyone who gets in their way. So that's a little bit about the Navori Brotherhood.
It's interesting because you two both don't play Legends of Runeterra at all, right?
No.
I used
You played
to.
a little
I haven't
bit.
played any of the recent expansions.
I haven't played that much recently either, but I played it when I was playing it for a lot. And when I saw that name Navori, I was like, those are cards. I know what those guys are. It's like those guys are like brigands or like thieves or something. It's like, yeah, awesome. Okay, so that was a neat thing to be like, oh, okay. It made me actually go and look through some more of the Ionia cards on Legends of Runeterra to see if there was anything that would kind of, trigger an Ahri memory. There wasn't much. I was just gonna say, should we talk about Ionia too? Or like Rebecca, like how much of a sense of Ionia do you have?
None. I know a lot of champions yell it a lot. I think Leona. Does Leona yell Ionia?
Probably,
I think she's from Targon.
Targon? No. One of them.
no.
One of them yells it.
Why'd I think
All
Leona?
the ninjas are all
Yeah.
technically from Ionia.
Okay. Yeah, and normally I know Riot breaks it down
And
like that.
Karma, which is maybe where you've heard of it, because I know you play a lot of Karma.
Oh, yeah. Karma probably says it. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we could talk about Ionia. Ionia.
Ionia. You
I know
got
it's
it.
Ionia, but my mouth is
Ionia.
like, that's wrong.
All right, you got any fast facts you want to hit us with, Mark?
Well, I was gonna say, John, I think you kind of captured the big to do, which is that Noxus showed up. I guess that one of the big shticks, because in watching, there was a little dev blog about Ionia, which was really, they dropped a lot of like insight in a little 5-minute video. I was like, man, it's good. But yeah, I mean, I guess the deal with Ionia is that a loose confederation of islands had been the subject of other attacks before because they don't really have a standing military. They've got like local militias, things like that. But the land itself being so Ionia's big deal also is that it's like, they call it the first lands. It's where magic is really, really powerful, and there's like this really sheer or very thin, what am I trying to say, thin divide between it and the spirit world. So there's magic kind of throughout the land. The land is alive and does whatever. So the land in all these previous invasions would kind of just deter people in a way that was like very pacifist, no real violence on the part of the Ionians. The Noxians, of course, ready for that shit. So like you said, had to mount this big stand, right? But yeah, so then you've got Ionia kind of standing in the wake of this invasion with the Kinku. Sorry, not the Kinku. I wrote down Kinku twice. What are they called? We just talked about them, Navori, right? Navori, and then also the Order of Shadow, Zed's boys, kind of stand on that one side of we need to take this magic, we need to make weapons out of it, we need to, I think, unify into a single like nation state rather than this kind of loose confederation. And then you got like Shen and the Kinku Order, kind of sitting in the more pacifist traditionalist side, I guess. Does that sound right?
And it's like the Shenakali and Kennen.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, they're they're like the main. Are they like the main folks in the Kinku Order? Like they're the very specific like titles within that. Is that right?
Yeah, they. God, and I forget.
It's the whole thing. Like the Eye of
Yeah, I know
Twilight.
Kennen's the Tempest.
Yeah, Heart of the Tempest.
Heart of the Tempest. The
OP.
God, I forget.
The OP Shadow
Yeah.
Assassin. Akali.
Yeah, I forget the other ones, but
Well,
yeah.
we're going to learn more about him next week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akali's next, huh?
Oh, perfect. Ties right in.
It's interesting that that Ionia is known for its magic and that the ninjas come there, from there, because I wouldn't have put them together so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just my
they're
own
very
personal.
big in. So the ninjas are very big on the concept of balance, at least the Kinku Order.
Okay.
So they're very big on staying out of conflict and just kind of maintaining the balance of nature and spirits. They very much kind of have a like an Avatar vibe to me, like connecting our realm and the spirit realm and trying to stay out of conflict whenever possible.
Yeah, one day the Noxus Nation attacked,
Yeah, everything changed.
Everything
when
changed.
Noxus attacked.
It's kind of written like that in the Ionia region little short. It's kind of written like that, I'll say. Or maybe I'm thinking of some other story, but it definitely comes across that way in One
Yeah.
Piece I read.
God, I'm pretty excited for Akali, actually, because she has some hella cool cinematics.
Now I think rewatched all of the cinematics that had Ahri in it. Yeah. Did
Yes.
you learn anything?
Not really. A lot of them were, because I think Riot has technically said that all cinematics are canon, but a lot of the cinematics are also just fights, like on the Rift, including a lot of the Ahri ones. She's pretty heavily featured in a lot of the fighting cinematics, but she is in some non-fighting cinematics too. She's in the one that we talked about with Yasuo and Yone, and that actually pushes her backstory forward a little bit, which was pretty cool. She's also, the majority of the cinematics you'll find Ahri in are the alternate universe ones. So just to go over real quick all of the alternate universes that she is a part of.
I mean, Ahri is I would say Ahri is one of the faces of League.
Yes.
There's maybe like 10 or so, and Ahri is definitely one of them. So I think that they push her.
Yes, because she, and I think the reason for that too is that the nine-tailed fox is a big part of Asian culture. I think both Chinese and Japanese and Korean, various forms of it. And that is where the majority of the League of Legends audience is. So Ahri was a big hit. So she has become a poster child for League of Legends because the majority of the audience connects with her.
Yeah, she's I know she's cosplayed a lot. If you ever go to any League event, you're sure to see an Ahri.
Yeah, and she has a lot of skins to choose from.
Yeah.
So these are the various universes that Ahri is a part of. So she's a part of the Spirit Blossom universe, which is actually it's kind of confusing because part of the Spirit Blossom universe actually exists in main League canon. Like the whole Yasuo Yone story is main League canon. But there are legends within that universe of the fox who leads souls to the afterlife. And that is kind of side canon. Ahri acts as the gatekeeper in that canon to kind of ferry souls to the afterlife. She's kind of like the Charon, the boat master of the River Styx of League of Legends. But yeah, she leads people to where they need to go, which is either kind of the peaceful route, or if they get distracted by Thresh on the way there, then the route of vengeance, like Yone did.
Oh. And when I did the Spirit Blossom event, I just fell in love with Thresh, but that didn't change my... I flirted with Ahri a lot, too. I was a real hoe in the Spirit Blossom event.
You gotta get them rewards. So she's also part of the Star Guardian alternate universe. So in this universe, she is the leader of a second group of Star Guardians. Basically, it launched with Lux as the leader of the Star Guardians. The group that Ahri is the leader of is a much more experienced group than Lux is. They have their shit together, whereas Lux's are disorganized and chaotic and new. Ahri's group is very organized and regimented, but also very jaded.
Okay. What a mood.
Yeah. She is also part of the KDA universe, where she's the leader of the K-pop group. She started as a solo pop star.
Oh my god, there's a backstory for her K-pop
This is about
career?
where I noped out when I was reading that comic. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop at this point.
Yeah, so she has a skin that's just pop star Ahri, which was before she was part of the group. She was just a solo pop star.
Oh my, they tied her pop star Ahri to the KDA lore.
If you watch the first KDA music video, she's actually when she's in the laundromat, she's washing her pop star outfit.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea. That skin is old. I forgot about that.
It is. So her label wouldn't let her perform her own songs, so she broke her contract and started KDA with Evelyn, who was also a solo artist, and her friend. They then onboarded Kaisa, who's a dancer and their choreographer, and then they picked up Akali, who's their rapper, and then they recently collaborated with Seraphine, who reminded Ahri of herself when she was starting out.
Oh my god, I can't believe they have these tie-ins.
Yeah, and they have a full comic series about KDA. It's pretty interesting.
I couldn't believe it. I read through the first one, and I started skimming, and I couldn't believe not that it was a bad looking comic, but I was like, why? It seemed like a very strange, I'll say, medium. Like to say, we're going to do a comic about KDA. Right? Am I wrong?
I can see why they did it, because KDA is super popular. So I feel like any additional content they can put out about it, like, people are gonna eat up.
I wonder how popular it's been, though, because I love KDA. I have the songs on repeat all the time, but I have yet to read any of the comics.
I'm also curious.
And they're also, I don't feel like they're pushed very much. I didn't even know they existed until today.
I think outside of the universe page, I don't think I had seen these posted anywhere either.
It's interesting because I think non-League fans might pick up on them if they did want to push them around. I mean, I'm on Twitter a lot, and my audience tends to be book people. I follow a lot of readers and writers. When, my God, the first KDA song.
Oh, Pop Stars.
Thank you. When Pop Stars came out, even my book friends and followers were posting about it because they really liked the song, and it was bizarre as hell having my League world leak over into that one. But people loved it. People who had never heard of League of Legends. So yeah, I don't know how, if they would, I don't know, try to get their weird fucking fan fiction comics that they write.
Now, did they do the same thing for the Baddest, or did that one not hit the same?
That didn't hit the same, and More didn't either, the one that just came out. And I tweeted them and everything.
You did your part.
I did my part. I did what I could. I don't have a lot of followers, you know. But I don't know why. I really like Pop Stars, but I think the other two songs are just as good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so what other weird alternate universes do we have?
The final alternate universe
is
that
the
she's
weirdest,
a part of
I think.
Is the weirdest. Yeah, it is the Academy Adventures universe, which is kind of, it seems like a riff on like My Hero Academia, if I had to guess.
Oh, the only reason it's the weirdest, by the way, is because it's really the least weird. It's the most normal.
Yeah, it's a bunch of League characters in like a high school, and other League characters are their teachers, and Ahri is the bitchy popular girl in this world, and so is, and Darius is like the douchey jock guy. It's
funny because high school AUs are so popular in the fanfiction world. If you were to go right now and look at like some Last Airbender fanfiction, you'd find a ton of high school AUs. Just people love writing this stuff. It's really funny. I don't know why.
And I did read through a bunch of the comics. I did enjoy some of them. They were pretty cute. But seeing a bunch of the students, because it's not just the, human type students that are a part. Like Vel'Koz goes to this school, and Rek'Sai goes to this school. Rek'Sai's dating Malzahar.
What? Does Rek'Sai still look the same?
Exactly the same, but she wears a bow.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
But
I'd watch their sex tape.
But it's, just a fun little alternate universe. I know they've got like, who are the teachers? Like Graves, Fiora, Mundo, Singed, Heimerdinger.
Vlad? Is Vlad in there?
No, Vlad's a student.
What?
Yeah. Vlad.
Come on, man. I thought he was hot in his getup, and now I feel creepy. Thought he was a teacher.
Sorry. No,
he looks like 1,000,000 years old. How is he a student?
Well, because he's a vampire. Well, he's not a vampire. He's a hemomancer.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were like, Twilight's big. We got to put this vampire in high school.
But yeah, so there's comics for that too if you're ever interested. Those ones are actually content creators, so they're like community content creators. So Riot had teamed up with a bunch of community creators to kind of commission some work from them. So those are all from the same artist who did all of them, but they actually did like a bunch of series of them, so it's pretty cool.
Imagine getting paid to do fan fiction. No one ever paid my ass.
Gotta start doing League fan fiction.
I guess that's true. I'm not an artist.
You said you wanted that Rek'Sai Malzahar sex tape. Write it.
I don't think that's...
Surely that's what they're looking for.
I don't think that's what they're looking for.
It's going to show up on their universe page.
No.
Rek'Sai gets Rek'Sai.
Wow.
Anywho.
Cool.
I hate it. I'm cutting this last minute and a half out.
Don't. I like the Academy Adventures. As you were talking about them, I went and started looking through them, and these are great.
So
these are way better than the...
You noped out of the KDA, but the Academy Adventures, those are good.
Well, these are much more consumable,
back in.
also. These are like little 1-page things, and it's like, there it is. Perfect. Yeah, these are great.
They're very short.
That's funny. All right. Any final thoughts on Ahri? Anything anybody wanted to touch on?
I think her gameplay, just talking about that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
More than like drawing comparisons to Aatrox, I think her gameplay is obviously more kind of looped into what she does.
Yes.
You know, steals life with her passive, charms people. What more can you ask for, I suppose?
Yeah, and I like that we mentioned the cinematic she's in where it's kind of more combat related, and she does use kind of that charm and her other abilities in those cinematics pretty well. The charm doesn't read quite as well in the cinematics as you'd hope, but it's kind of a difficult thing to do. I thought they did the best they could with what they had. But
no, it makes sense. It looks more like the lore and less like the game, I think.
Yeah.
In the cinematic, from what I remember, I haven't watched them in a while, but yeah.
What was I going to say? I mean, does she charm someone in the Wild Rift trailer, which I loved? Probably my favorite Everybody Fights trailer in a while. That thing was great. But does she charm someone in that? I would assume so, right? It's like her thing.
I don't remember her doing that. I know she does in the
New Dawn.
The New Dawn. And I know that was like, I like the thought behind it because she, her pal Leona looks like she's gonna die, so she charms and then runs away to get everyone to chase her. If you didn't know that's what, like if you weren't familiar with her moveset, I could see you being very confused as to what happened because her eyes turned pink and she blew a heart and then she just ran the hell away.
Did she even blow a heart? Like, that's the thing is I really thought there was really if we're talking about a New Dawn, I always thought it was really lacking that there wasn't a really clear, heart like in the game, but
I don't remember there being a heart, but now you've seen it more recently.
God, now I'm questioning everything. I thought that it was like a wispy, like smoky.
You're kind of right. Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah. Maybe I saw it as a heart because I knew it was supposed to be a heart.
Just blowing some Gandalf smoke rings at him.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember her charming anyone. But there was a lot going on in the Wild Rift.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I want to rewatch that again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to too.
So good.
Yeah, one thing I thought was interesting because I looked a little bit into the Camille lore, just because I know that was. I mean, when she was originally made, they were like, "We're gonna take this idea, and that's just the champion. We're just gonna do that," which is how they tended to be a lot more. I think back in the day. Am I right? That they would just kind of be. He's a sad mom. It's just something that's very like just get it in there. But
get that sad motion rolling
because they were releasing like one champion every like week or two.
Like a week or 2 weeks.
That
was crazy.
They didn't have the time, and they had like a team of like 3 people. They did what they had to.
Hey, I'm not hating. I think they've done a great job taking some of those things and really making them fit much more, being more, not an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, right?
Hey, take that back.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to Sion, I suppose. But so something that I thought was interesting is they talk about how Camino have this bead. I'm not going to try and say it, but it translates to fox marble, fox bead, and it supposedly like consists of knowledge. And the idea is that when they take your essence, lots of times they'll kiss the bead into your mouth, and then they'll tongue it back, they'll French it back out, and that's what'll steal your essence. But if you can swallow it, you can absorb it, and then you'll get, I think they described it as near supernatural powers from like observing things. But I was like, that's like her cue because she throws it out and pulls it back, and she can be stealing the essence with it when the passive stacked. I thought that was like someone obviously was like, let's do that shit. Make
someone
sure that
knew
gets
their
in there.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when they can tie it to the champion so much, and then they don't have to rework the champion like poor Aatrox.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I liked a lot about the Wukong on release too. Was like I was already a fan of kind of the Wukong lore, and then seeing him get some of his cool Wukong shit. And the champion was nice.
The champion was nice.
Champion was nice. You heard it here first, folks.
I thought that I listened to the quotes because she does not have that much, and once I got done listening to all the dying sounds,
On repeat.
Yeah, all 4 playing at once.
I'll be in my bunk.
It took about 2 minutes.
Right. I have forgotten how like malevolent she is. Like she comes across like really evil, like kind of like Evelyn almost. Does that sound like
Yeah.
like very malicious and nefarious in those quotes? It like maybe young. My best guess was like, oh, this is like young Ahri, and this is like when she was like really into stealing essences and shit.
Yeah, it sounds like that might be right, and that would make sense.
Yeah, especially if they never redid her voiceover
That's
after
why,
changing
really.
her lore. Because I know they did make it kind of a more specific point in the new lore that she really started to feel remorse for what she was doing, and it was more just she was losing power if she didn't do it, so she kind of had to. So yeah, if they never re-recorded the voice lines, I could definitely see it just being like, I fucking love drinking people.
Hey,
That's a direct Ahri quote right there.
I think that's exactly it, because she's got all about 10 quotes, and we were talking like about Aatrox having novels. Ahri's got
Oh my
nothing.
god. When we get to a new champion, anything that's come
yeah.
out in the last like 2 years,
They have
so
interactions with like every related champion. It's crazy.
many. Yeah.
Or even unrelated champions. It's just like one-liners.
Which I have been playing League since 2011. I have never, ever encountered a champion-specific interaction line in-game. Because I just never do whatever, like I don't taunt or like do anything that's required to actually get those lines. And I kind of feel bad because I feel like there's just so much work put into these champion-specific interactions that I have just never encountered. But yeah, in my 9 years of playing, not a single champion-specific line.
I mean, we play Zyra Rakan together, and they have specific lines. You've never heard those?
Okay, that's true. That is the one exception. Just because they do it without you having to taunt. They just do it all the time.
Yeah, if they're...
Like,
yeah.
all their quotes just have to do with kind of like each other.
Mm-hmm. If they're in the... Is it when they're just in the game together, or if they're near each other?
I think just in
Probably
the game
near.
together.
I would
Wow,
bet
you both
near.
gave me a different answer.
They can do that.
Well, I guess if
shit.
they're on separate teams, you probably wouldn't get it. So
That'd
yeah,
be
it's probably
awkward.
just near each other. I changed my mind. I agree with Mark.
Well, I bet you they even have quotes for when they're on the opposite team. I mean, they have, man, some of those, they get really, I was going to say, you can just go check the League wiki. They'll have it all listed out there, I tell you. But,
Yeah, so you League wiki editors, you're goddamn heroes.
man, let me tell you.
I think that's going to do it for our discussion on the Nine-Tailed Fox Ahri. Thank you so much for listening. John and I do another podcast where we watch the highest rated movie and the lowest rated movie in a franchise called A Series of Unfortunate Sequels, so you can check that out if that sounds interesting.
It's fun.
It is fun.
I'm biased.
You might be a little biased, honey. But join us next week when we talk about, I think, one of John's favorite champions, the rogue assassin Akali.